Hello.
Okay, do you hear me?
Oh yes. How you doing?
Oh, hi, very good.
Nice. Well, it's nice to meet you. Would you like to introduce yourself? I'll link your portfolio in the chat here.
Okay, wait a bit, please.
Yep.
Uh, should I send the link?
Oh no, I got you already. You're all good.
Okay, thank you. My name is Ruslan Tungushov. I'm from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. Do you know Central Asia?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 21. I'm studying now at university. So how I start?
Yeah. How
Uh,
did you get into 3D? Like, what made you go down this treacherous road?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard way. So I
Mm-hmm.
started from programming because I'm learning programming at university. So I started programming games, learn C Sharp, and make games some in Unity.
Mm-hmm.
So then I have some bad interview to get my first job in programming. So I have some disappointed.
Mm.
And I start thinking about that why I like games. Maybe because of art, I like atmosphere. So I start thinking about 3D, and I opened Blender. It start.
Yeah, and then it just began. How long
Yeah,
ago was that?
it's been 2 years,
2 years?
almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
Are you enjoying it?
yes, very excited, but sometimes have thoughts that is it good or maybe change, but I continue the way,
Mm.
never stop.
I mean, as long as you're enjoying it, you'll always get better, and you just listen to people's feedback and kind of like try your own things as well. Honestly, what I'm seeing in your portfolio, you're doing quite well. So, did you say you're going to school for it as well, or are you just kind of learning it on your own?
And now I learn it by on my own by
Mm,
tutorials. I start from very basic tutorial from Blender. I don't think about game 3D modeling, but then after half years, I start learning 3D game
mm-hmm,
and started from MFG, like you see Revolver.
mm-hmm.
And after that, I think about my personal work, but it's very difficult to start. So I can say that my personal work start from Tank because I
Oh,
watch
right.
some
So you started
tutorials.
going from there.
Yeah, the last one also I follow tutorial, but I start only follow like the rules, the basics, and learn new software.
Right. So, what was the? I guess we can look at this Western Town one. So, oh yeah, Emil, man, I used to work with this guy.
Yeah,
Sugos,
I
he's great.
spent too much then on this.
Yeah. He's
Thank you, Emil, because I learned Unreal Engine. I didn't know at all.
oh, and you learned it through this tutorial.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know
that's
how to
great.
model, model environment, but I don't know how to use materials in Unreal. I know
Yeah.
it's very useful for us for 3D artists, so I learned it.
Yeah, it's a great engine. The fact that it's free is kind of crazy.
Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's I mean most of the industry uses it, right? So it's a good it's a well I wouldn't even say good. It's a great engine for like pushing your own art because with that and Artstation and like all the resources that are online now, it's just a matter of time before you get a job and you're already relatively well equipped to be able to do the job. So
Yeah,
yeah, this is really cool. It kind of reminds me of Martin Hoff's stuff. Um, I don't know if you've
yeah.
looked at his stuff, but yeah. So okay, so the goal was just to you were learning how to use Unreal, and you were also modeling a lot of these details, and then it looks like a lot of texturing as well. Is there anything that you don't like about this scene?
Uh, yep. Some things. I don't know about. I learned vertex paint, but
Hmm.
I think it's not 100% good because I saw some moments there where it's not real, uh, and it's really I can see it
Right.
from that way.
Yeah, like you can tell it's vertex painted.
Yeah, it's vertex painted, but I learned from Emil
Hmm.
Sliggers, but I know also different techniques, and it make me be better.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I think it's it's okay work. I think just okay.
Yeah, I'm just, someone was mentioning the diagonal wood boards. This is actually a thing that happens with some designs.
Diagonal.
Yeah. Like, so normally I would say, at least in game art, you would probably try to avoid this just because people get caught up on it and they're like, what's happening here? Is that an error or is it designed that way? But if you look at like the building over here, you can see that it's like that as
It's
a
design.
design.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those, what, how they usually do that is it's like they build it normally and then they put these on top as like a facade.
Uh, it's from Substance Design Architecture, and
Yeah.
also I used some editable details made in Blender, like a push up.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes,
Let's see
for
here.
more realistic view.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, I mean, right now, is the goal that you want to go more towards like realistic games or is it more like stylized?
Uh, I haven't tried stylize.
Yeah. It's a,
Yeah.
it's definitely a different beast. It's harder in
Yeah.
other ways and easier in other ways, just like doing realistic stuff. But what I'm seeing right now is like you're reaching this look that's more like hyper real. Like it's kind of stylized, but it's realistic at the same time. It's kind of like what's happening in my scene I'm working on stream now. So it's touching realistic things, but there's still like stylistic attributes to it. So like when you look at surfaces and the color of the wood, and like all of the wood is very similar in color and tone. And in reality, you'll have, I guess, saturation as well. In reality, things tend to be or can be more desaturated, or a panel is just slightly a different value or saturation from another. And it's just a matter of like getting that extra layer of detail on top to try and make it look much more realistic, just because of the variation that happens in reality. Like reality is all over the place. The variances are just through the roof. Whenever you can add noise to the way stuff is changing, you tend to get closer to reality.
Yeah. It's difficult to find the balance between noise or some rough
Mm-hmm.
and clear ones, because I saw a lot of mistakes in works and also in mine. There people don't have a balance, and it looks like not professional. And because professional always look balance, and it's quite hard
Mm.
to get it.
Yeah, getting that balance of like the 30/70 rule, right? Where 30% high detail and then like the 70% is like an area of calmness. Like this back wall here or this detail, it has information, but it's not like screaming at you with information. And then you've got this detail here, which actually I really like the texturing on this. I think it's just it's calling out in different. It's telling you a bunch of stuff, and it is higher frequency detail, but it feels more authored, if that makes sense. Like it looks like there's much more information going on here. It's super nice. But that's that balance that we're talking about. Like if these doors, if it turned out that your scene and the doorways were just too detailed or like they're too busy, all you have to do is like take those cutouts that you've done, those insets, and make them either less inset or remove the inset and just texture the door. And then you'll step back away from the busyness. So it's all about that balancing. And I think as you get used to building scenes and looking at compositions, you'll start to balance out when it's too detailed and when's a good balance. But honestly, I mean, when I look in this area and the way you have your ground here, it's quite balanced. Nothing's like really screaming at me, going like, there's too much detail. If anything, I would say that you probably need to put something in the dirt or the mud, just to give some directionality to like how people travel across the terrain.
I tried to show it by these rails, but it didn't show well. So
Right.
I made a way from this. It's the decals. I
Hmm.
know that it's bad for games decals. That kind of because they're big, but I don't know how to make it another way.
Right.
Yeah, I also use vertex paint to make it more natural. So I use like some uh, dirt and paint.
Right. Yeah, Polygon's talking about adding puddles in there, and I think you've got a little bit on the sides here. Maybe it's like a water sim that's happening there. I'm seeing some
Yeah,
like reflections there.
there's super reflection.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's got some T1000 vibes going on. But if I look at the ground, what you can do is instead of like doing these liquid simulations to try and get the puddle look, you can do it in materials or you can do it as like a decal, and just pushing your roughness around to make it look wet and maybe like flattening out the normal can do a lot. I know maybe Polygon can post it in chat. I think you've done a few blog posts on puddle usage and like creating puddles. And I think it's a good idea for sure to add puddles in some areas in here, and it wouldn't be too busy. But you think about the surface as like a sponge, and like where does water build up? That's where your puddles would be, right? But like making sure that the puddles don't add, like puddles can add a lot of noise really quickly because they're kind of like mirrors in a sense. So there's a little bit of balance there. But when I talk about the terrain being like a sponge, it's thinking about the surface. As it absorbs more water, it will become higher in saturation, and then the value will go down, so it becomes darker. And I can see you're doing that a little bit here, but like maybe in some areas, getting it to be more dry. Like I think there's a decal here for like these little like sticks and
Yeah,
grass
it
detail.
roughness, yes, and grass, yes. It's yellow grass, like dry grass.
Right.
And I'm thinking about puddles, but didn't find a way how to make it a real. Yeah, I saw a lot of reference with puddles, but actually don't know.
Yeah, there's
Don't
some.
know.
They're not too crazy, especially if your surface is flat. I know that yours isn't very flat, so it might be a little bit different, a little bit more different, but it's all good. Oh yeah, Polygon linked it in chat. I'll just post it in our conversation. That way, you don't have to dig it up later. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to the assets, I mean, it's Western, right? So everything's made out of either wood or metal.
Yeah, wood. It's pretty easy material,
Yeah,
but
it's trying
yes,
to get that variety. Like the bench is really nice because there's some like details that are on there that are implying the usage. Like it's lots of people sitting on it. You can tell that it's been out there for a while. But then you see the barrel. The barrel looks quite clean and very like almost modeled, like geometry feeling because of each piece being modeled, and getting that roughness to kind of read between all of them to kind of give you that same kind of surface feel. Yeah, the RGB mask stuff on there would be really nice. Just because I can see there's some value variation on the table here as well. Is that
yeah, I
what is that?
had some on some assets mask.
Mm-hmm.
I made in Substance Painter, but there's a lot of assets and make very I don't know where people can saw it on the shots, and then I used vertex paint. You can see on the table
Mm-hmm.
it's like vertex paint, and I didn't take too much detail. This is just draw something, uh, and
Yeah, you just
also
kind of painted it around to change it up.
I can draw the barrel, but I choose maybe the wrong barrel. That's
I
why
mean, I
it's
think the barrel's fine. It's mainly the material, like getting the material to read. Like the metal is really dark, and usually metal albedo is going to be quite bright. But then the metalness will be like white, right? And then you just gauge your roughness to try and bring it into line. But the wood, I feel like, is missing the same type of roughness that you're getting on your table or your seats. If those were all if that kind of look was on the barrel, I think the barrel would look really really good.
yeah, I had a lot of wood materials like
Yeah,
7 or 8 variations and use
yeah.
different to mix it. So maybe misunderstood. And also use I chose the wrong wall. Maybe not wrong, not vertex painted.
Mm.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, a lot of when someone does use vertex paint, I usually suggest that they use it on like building surfaces to get breakup, and then when you need to do it on a prop, that's when I would usually say you use a mask.
Yeah.
But cool. Yeah, I've this scene honestly is quite good. There's a lot going on here. How long did this take you to make?
Mm, about 2 months.
2 months? Oh man, you were busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made 1 month of tutorial, like follow some rules, and then 1 month of myself learning, just make assets, build the scene and other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of so that's quite interesting. So that means that you've actually split up your time where you're like, okay, I'm in the learning phase. Because I always tell people to split those up. You have the phase where you're learning stuff, and then you have the phase where you're actually just building and you're executing based off of what you know or what you've learned. But when you try and mix those together, your brain gets screwed up. It becomes very difficult to move quickly.
Yeah,
That's
especially with
yeah,
environment.
yeah, yeah. When you have to build so many things, I mean, there's a ton of props here, but I think because of the variety of props that you have, there's actually not too many, but you're able
And
to reuse them in ways
yeah,
that really populate the scene quickly.
yeah, I think about megascans, but then decided to make it by my own. Just take as a some stream materials. I take horses because it's just too much
Mm,
time to make it, and also saddles and sandbags because it's really realistic, and I don't want to spend 1 month more to make it.
right. Yeah, seeing that to me, that's the perfect usage of asset libraries and material libraries. Like you should want to focus on the stuff that you want to build, and then the rest should be there to support you. And man, there didn't used to be libraries. I remember when you had to build everything. But this this is really good. Was
Thank
there
you.
was there a oh man, that first shot is like this is nice. This is the thing that reminds me of Martin. The I think the thing that sticks out to me is the readability on the ground level. It gets hard to understand like where like if this cart was here and then you could see steps going up to this building, it becomes so much easier to understand what you're how the space is kind of set up. But generally speaking, this is like really strong.
Yeah.
Was there another one that you wanted me to look at, or do you want to just kind of go into some like questions or talking about anything in particular?
Maybe tank, but
Hmm.
I know some mistakes in tank. Just look at it. Look at some seconds.
Yeah, yeah. What? So, what are the mistakes to you? Like, what do you?
First time I use ZBrush. Now I learned it, but this time I use first time, and I misunderstood with naming. So when I transfer to bake it, I want to bake it. So my chamfers UV, the naming when it's wrong, didn't work well
Mm,
baking. So I just fully use subdiff and make it tank, and that's why chamfers are too hard
Right, all
edges.
the edges are sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna it makes so smooth because every everything should be smooth, but I misunderstood with naming, so
Right.
it's like
Yeah, that's always frustrating, dude. When I was learning ZBrush, uh, if you were to just press Control S and save, it just flattened it out and you lost your geometry. There was no going back. So I understand the the early struggles when you're learning stuff. I mean, so I guess it's more of a curiosity of like not going back to this, but it's a vehicle, right? And you're interested. Right now, you just says 3D environment artist. Is there?
yeah.
Are you focused on environments now, or is it?
Now only environment, yeah.
Yeah. Are you working on something now?
Yeah, I'm working Simon Fish, maybe Simon Fudge. I don't know how to pronounce
Yes.
correctly.
I
I
always
make
say it wrong as well.
I made a military radio because I know Blender, but I
Mm,
know that I should know Maya because a lot of studio use it. So I want to learn Maya from this tutorial and also want to make some scene
hmm.
and maybe I will show you and you can give me some feedback.
Yeah. Do you have? You want to show me now?
I want to show you a ref
Sure.
table and my idea.
Yeah. 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 We can do that.
I can
Yeah. If you
start
just, I don't know how you want to share it, but we'll
uh
figure it out.
like like
No, your art is quite good for 2 years.
I cannot show because they ask me to buy Nitro.
Oh, oh,
I know
it's too big. Okay, you want to screen share it?
I can send to the
Okay,
bad quality of
let me pop this out and I can put it on the stream here.
is it
Yeah.
visible?
Yep.
My ref is.
Yeah. So you're
So
getting a bunch of. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I have a
recognize this.
radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have lookout. Like I made a table, army table. So my idea is in the beginning was like a desk,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean board with some
Yeah.
newspapers, for
All the
example,
info.
yes, info, and place a table like this,
Mm-hmm.
and a radio and some stuff. I saw this word and really inspired by this one, like
Oh my
table
gosh.
with
Yeah, yeah.
radio.
That's so
Yeah, I
cool.
saw it. It's so much stuff. So then I started to think about maybe to make it like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a barrack, army barrack,
Yeah.
and table with table and radio and some stuff, some boxes. So
Right.
that's
Yeah. So you're trying to tell like a story of like it's like someone in like a military barracks that's either like radioing in information or is like trying to keep track of a bunch of information.
yeah, maybe on missions or
Hmm.
some atmosphere. This one.
It's really cool because like I mean, peop, this is a scene that you'll see from time to time, but it's a really good scene because you end up having to deal with cloths, especially if you put it in a tent. Like there's so
Yeah, I
many
want to
interesting
build it.
things you could do. Like if you do that tent, you could do subsurface, and then you could use like Megascan trees or bushes and have them cast shadows on the tent.
Like this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it can be really subtle. It doesn't have to be very busy, but it adds a lot of this complexity. And with a scene like this, you get a lot of practice with materials because you've got cloth, you've got metals, plastics, just all types of surfaces like painted metal. It's yeah, it's a really good and then with the radio in there as well, you get like the nice like those I don't know what those screens are called, but the old school radio screen with like the lit backdrop and all that stuff. It's yeah, there's a ton of materials and that's I think what makes this a really fun project and you'll learn a
Yeah.
ton.
Also understood that it's important to make materials and model, but it's also important to make a scene that meaning something. And it's very important is the lighting because very good works with bad lighting. It's I don't know,
Yeah,
it's
it breaks
very bad.
everything. Like your art can look amazing, but if the lighting is bad, it just doesn't look great. Yeah, dude,
Okay,
that's super cool. That's really thanks for sharing that as well.
sorry, leave it to the channel.
There's no worries. Let me make sure I can like close this without destroying or like hanging up on us. Uh, so yeah, I mean, with that scene, what like how far along are you? I guess you've modeled that radio, and
I
now
just
you're
already
yeah
made high poly. I think it would be 2 months,
yeah yeah.
very
That's gonna
long.
be. I mean, the scene I'm working on stream, I only work on it while I'm streaming for the most part. So, but it's been like 8, 9, 10 months or something like that.
It's too much.
But we're doing like I'm exploring stuff I've never touched, and like we're building things and I'm explaining stuff all the time. So as long as I'm having fun, if I get bored with it, so help me, I'll just put it down. But I'm not bored. I'm having fun. But your recent scene is quite strong, and I can see that your modeling, your understanding of modeling, and especially with like the revolver, your understanding of materials is pretty good as well. It's just a matter of like continuing to tune your materials, telling a story, and thinking about composition. Maybe I would say the weakest thing that I'm seeing right now when it comes to your environment is composition. Like you have some strong angles, and then it's just about moving some props around to get it to really show.
Point, yes, like the first view.
Yeah, just kind of like arranging stuff a little bit. But I really like the camera angle, as well as like where how you're using the camera. Like you have your FOV, you flattened out everything quite a bit, and it feels like old western kind of vibes. So super cool.
Thanks.
Bef-
Shit.
Before we go, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask, or maybe something I
Yeah.
wasn't covering that you're curious about?
Yeah, I have one question. Do you think it is important to go professional school 3D? Because I know it's hard to go to the Europe because so much people
Hmm.
or to the USA with relevant experience. So is it important to go to school to get fast result? Maybe.
Oh, I mean, to get fast result, do you mean the result of getting a job or the result of like
Yeah,
skill?
result of getting uh, job in a good in the company.
Right. Okay. I guess the way I would answer this is it depends. So, for example, if you were to come to Sweden and go to school here, the industry is so like I wouldn't say it's flooded. There's a lot of opportunities. So most students, I say most, a lot of the students that graduate immediately are in the industry. But then you have people that like if you learn on your own like you have been, it's just a matter of trying to figure out what you need to strengthen in order to get the portfolio good enough. And if your art is good enough, a company will go over the hills to try and figure out how to get you to them, even if it means working remote, for example. So it kind of depends where you want to go with that, and it's also it depends how you learn. Polygon can probably agree with that. You're either someone who learns really well through tutorials and through community, or you're someone who learns really well through structured education. And there's also the hybrid where I would say being a little bit of both is good because structure forces like deadlines and stuff like that. But you can build those into your own like personal education at home as well. So, oh yeah, Polygon's got a like, that might help. I'm gonna link this in your chat as well. But as far as speeding up your ability to get get into the industry, you said in your recent scene you're learning Maya as well. And I'm wondering if it's probably better to just stick with like a single modeling software just to focus on building out your portfolio versus like trying to like learning a new tool. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I know how to draw. And then it's like, okay, I want to get like that analogy is not going to work, but it's like, how do you go from a pencil to a pen? And then there's no difference, but you have to learn how to use a pen just because it's a little different from a pencil. But the focus is to get a strong portfolio, right? So that you can get
Yeah.
work. If you're spending time learning things that you already kind of know how to do with something else, then you're putting time towards learning and not towards the building, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
kind of
I just want to learn some basic of mine how to
yeah.
work because I will have internship
Mm-hmm.
with one company. It's like the wargaming divided by list and wargaming. No,
Mm-hmm.
company because of politics. So I can start internship in one of the company, but
Okay.
my university study and work collapse, and I have a choice: university or work.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
it's only one way
Oh
to
man.
go.
I mean, university. So what I liked about going to school for myself was that, and I didn't realize this until after I was done. You get a little bit older, and then you look back on everything. It gave me the time and the community around me because Discord didn't exist then, right? So it gave me a community, people around me doing the same thing, all wanting to get good, and just pushing for it, and everyone's helping each other. And then when I say time, I mean that like when you're in a school, you have nothing but school time to focus on your craft. And like if I had thought about that a little bit more when I was just starting school, I probably would be even better than I am now if I'd really pushed it. But when you're young, you're young. Yeah, and like Polygon says, good universities give you a very natural approach to developing. So I think it's more about what you think will work for you. And if it sounds like you don't want to work, you want to learn. So it sounds like you're bent on school, or you work and then you do education at home on your own on your free time, which might be difficult as well. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
it's
understood.
a lot of I'm basically telling you all the options that you already know. So I'm sorry I can't help too much on that. Maybe a little bit of
Oh
perspective,
no,
but that's it.
it's a good words. Thank you.
Was there anything else that you'd
No,
like to know? Okay.
thank you very much, Jeremy,
Yeah, it's no
for
problem.
this
It's
review.
it's a pleasure to chat with you and look at your portfolio. Did
Okay,
you
yeah,
if you need anything, just message me, or if you have questions about something I talked about when you go back and watch the video.
yeah. I just ask or community if I have problems.
Yeah, we'll be
Just ask.
around. We'll be here. The sun
Thank you
never
very much.
sets. But
Okay, thank
cool.
you.
Okay, I'll talk to you later then.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. Bye.